Okay, good afternoon, everyone. We are from Group 2, Juvelin Alabata, yours truly, and my group mates are Jonalyn Berrera, Jamaica Faith Acosta, Princess May Cristobal, Annalisa Victoriano, John Ray Velarde, and Jamaica May Tesorio. Today, we are going to discuss the topic that affects almost everything we buy, the jobs we have, and the future of the world we live in, the economic globalization. But hindi lang natin makikita yung numbers and trade deals dito, kundi tatalakayin din natin yung human side of the story, which is the poverty and inequality na madalas na nakatago sa likod ng lumalaki at lumalagong ekonomiya. Now, ano nga ba ang economic globalization? Economic globalization means how countries around the world are becoming more connected through trade, technology, and finance. Mas mabilis na nakakatawid ang mga produkto, serbisyo, at idea sa iba't ibang bansa. And our subtitle is Navigating the Integrated World, the Winners, Losers, and the Global South. Globalization creates winners, but sino nga ba sila and why do they win? First, they are the big companies like Apple, Samsung, Nike, and etc. Now, because of globalization, they can sell their products almost anywhere in the world. This means more customers equals more profit. They can also build factories in countries where labor is cheaper, which lowers their cost. Kasi makakatipid sila pag ganun. So, globalization gives them a huge advantage. They grow richer and more powerful. Now, second winner is the consumers, which is the ordinary people. We, the buyers, also benefit. Products become cheaper because company can produce them at lower cost. We get more choices like clothes from different countries, food from different cultures, and also gadget from different brands. Technology spread faster, so even people in developing countries can access smartphones, internet, and modern medicine. In short, globalization makes life more convenient for many consumers. Now, third winner is the strong economies. Some certain countries and some countries win big. Nations with advanced industries like the US, Germany, Japan, and South Korea. They can export high tech goods and earn huge profit. Their companies dominate global market, which is strengthen their economies. And they also set, dahil nga sa malakas sila, powerful sila, they are the one who set the standard of the rules of international trade, giving them more influence. Now, these countries become richer and more powerful, while others may struggle to keep up. Globalization doesn't benefit everyone equally. Siyempre po kung may mga winners, meron din pong losers. Now let's hear who are they and why. Number one, it is the workers in the poorer countries. Many factories move to countries kung saan mababa yung pasahod. Kasi kung mababa yung pasahod, malilas yung cost ng ano nila. So, magbe-benefit pa rin sila. Workers may earn just enough to survive. And sad to say, they earn enough to survive, but not enough to escape poverty. Safety standards are often weak. So workers face dangerous conditions. Like for example, they're working long hours, tapos nagtatrabaho sila sa crowded places, and sometimes dito nagkakaroon ng exploitation and child labor. Number two losers are the local businesses. Small shops and local producers often struggle to compete with multinational corporations. Big companies can sell products cheaper kasi nga naman sila yung kaya nagiging cheap yung product na binebenta nila kasi they produce it in bulk, bultuhan kumbaga. So local farmers, artisans, or even the small manufacturers may lose customers. Now if they lose customers, of course, that will lead them to closure. Magsasara yung company and marami yung mawawala ng trabaho. Number three losers is growing inequality. Globalization tends to reward those who already resources. Kung sino yung mga malalakas, kung sino may mga resources like the big companies, wealthy investors, and powerful nations. Now, the rich get richer, and sad to say, the poorer often stay poor or fall further behind. Now, this creates a bigger gap between wealthy and struggling communities. The simple analogy is this, ang globalization is parang isang race. Yung runner na nakasuot ng maganda at komportableng sapatos at may sapat na training, sila yung mabibilis at syempre sila yung mga nananalo. While yung runner na nakapaa, barefoot, walang sapat na training, sila yung mga nag-struggle. Pero kung isipin natin, parehas lang sila na tumatakbo, but yung chances of winning is hindi nga equal. So, next slide is the understanding economic globalization, the integration of national economies through trade, investment, and capital flow. In this slide, the integration of national economies through trade, investment, and capital flow, just like what I've said earlier, economic globalization means that countries are no longer working in isolation. Hindi na sila naka-isolate. Instead, their economies are connected throughout the world. In trade, countries can buy and sell goods and services with each other. In investment, companies or individuals put money into businesses in other countries. And in capital flow, money moves across borders quickly. Napakabilis na, such as banks, investors, and even governments send funds to different parts of the world. Sabi nga, globalization is like a machine, okay? The engine driven by multinational corporation or what we call MNCs, global supply chains and digital financial markets. So, ang globalization daw is isang makina. But just like any machine, it has both strengths and weaknesses. And here are the two important ideas, the engine and the paradox. First, the engine. The engine of globalization is powered by three big forces. The multinational corporations or the MNCs. These are the giant companies that operates in many countries. They connect markets by producing and selling worldwide. Number two is global supply chain. This means products are made in different parts of the world. For example, meron silang idea na gawin yung isang product but yung materials na kailangan nila is wala sa mismong bansa nila. So pupunta sila sa ibang bansa kung saan available yung parts na yon. Yun parang nag-connect na merong chain. And number three is the digital financial markets. Money moves instantly across borders through online banking, stock markets, and investment. This makes the global economy faster and more connected than ever. Now, part two is the paradox. While global wealth has expanded, it has simultaneously deepened poverty and inequality in specific regions. And when we say paradox, these are the surprising contradiction. On one hand, the globalization has expanded good wealth. Countries and companies had grown richer, and technology has spread widely. But on the other hand, poverty and inequality have also deepened in certain regions. Now, some communities, especially in the global south or what we call the third world country, are left behind. They maybe provide cheap labor or raw materials, but they don't always share in the profit. Yun nga, hindi pare-parehas, hindi equal yung pagbabahagi ng kita. So, while globalization creates opportunities, it also creates gap between the rich and the poor. In short, globalization is like powerful engine that drives growth, but it also creates a paradox. More wealth overall, yet more inequality in some places. Now, our challenge is to make sure this engine runs in a way that everyone will benefit, not just a few. Hindi lang yung iilan, dapat lahat nagbe-benefit. And the key integration factors, number one, movement of labor across borders. Movement of labor across borders. This means workers can move one country to another. to find jobs and it helps countries fill job shortages. Parang dito sa Pilipinas, yung mga OFW natin na umaalis ng bansa kasi ang number one reason nila is yun nga, yung job opportunities dito sa Pilipinas is napakakonti. And ang laki ng difference ng salary nila. So yun yung nagiging reason kung bakit umaalis. But it also can cause brain drain. When we say brain drain kasi yung mga skilled workers natin, yun nga, umaalis sila for greener pasture, for their future, iniiwan nila yung home country nila. Imbis na mag-serve sila dito sa Pilipinas, umaalis sila kasi nga, yung wages, yung job opportunities is mababa or kulang. So number two is rapid technology diffusion. Technology spreads quickly across the world. This makes communication and business faster. But it also means countries without access to technology can left behind. Kasi may mga countries pa rin talaga na nahihirapan or naiiwan when it comes to technology. And number three, cross-border production. Products are made in different countries before reaching consumers. These lower cost and connect economies. It can also make countries dependent on each other. So dito parang nagko-connect sila. Kailangan nila yung isa't isa. Kasi yun nga, hindi nila nasusolong gawin isang bagay kasi nga minsan may mga materials na hindi available sa countries nila. So next reporter.
So, the two effect of poverty. So, meron po ditong positive impact and negative impact. So, first po is yung positive impact. So, job creation, growth in export-oriented industries. So, because of labor is cheaper in poorer countries, maraming foreign companies na nag invest. So, nagkakaroon ng factories industries, which means po is nagkakaroon tayo ng mga trabaho dahil po sa mga foreigner na nag invest po dito sa Pilipinas. So, market access, new opportunities for foreign investment po. So second po is ang market access, since countries open up to global trade, mas maraming foreign investors pumapasok. So parang nagkakaroon ng opportunity for growth and business expansion. So emerging growths, rapid GPD, increase in developing nations. So dito po sa last is some developing nations experience po ng mas mabilis na GDP. So dahil sa export and foreign investment, so technically, poverty can push a country to participate more in global trade, so to survive and grow. So dito naman po tayo sa negative. So the first one po is exploitation, use of cheap labor with minimal protection. So because labor is a cheap, some companies take advantage, minimal protection, low waves, minsan overwork pa. So yung overwork pa yung mga employees. So yes, may trabaho but not always fair or humane. So sa next po is displacement. Job losses due to outsourcing and automation. So ito po yung pinaka-serious kasi kahit may growth, hindi evenly distributed yung money. Kasi usually, elites and big corporations lang ang super yumayaman. While ordinary workers stay struggling pa rin po. So, malaki yung gap between rich and distributed. So, dito po sa last it is a wealth gap, concentrations of capital among elites and large corporation. So, in short po dito is poverty can create economic opportunities but it can also depend on inequality if not properly regulated. It's giving growth but all what costs energy. Yun po. So next po ate.
Global income inequality. The definition, the, un- the unequal distribution of wealth among individual and nation. So, when I really dig into global income inequality o di kaya pagkakaibahan ng kita sa buong mundo na lubhang malalim at makabuluhan, it just hit me how hindi patas ang balance is in our world. So, To, sim- to put it simple po, it's about how wealth isn't spread out fairly, either between nation or within them. But if we go deeper, ito'y hindi lamang tungkol sa pagkakaroon ng mas marami ang iba, kundi tungkol sa pagkakaiba at kayang hubugin ang buong buhay at kinabukasan ng mga tao. That's the core of the issue. Ang pinakamalagang bahagi ng suliranin that we cannot ignore. For example po, a farmer in Isabela might work from sunrise to sunset to earn enough money for their family daily meals, while some in high income country could make a same amount within just a few hours of work. So ito'y halimbawa na pagpapakita ng pagkakaibang hindi lamang sa kita, kundi pati rin po sa halaga ng pera sa iba't ibang lugar. Wait, wala akong signal. Sa between countries naman po, sa gap between the global north rich and the global south poor. So between countries, the north-south divide is always thought the split between the global north and global south po. Yung division ng mga bansang mayayaman at bansang umaasenso pa lamang is one of the most visible sign of this. So wealthy nation have access to top-tier healthcare, education, and technology po, while many in the global south po struggle with their basic needs. Like take the Scandinavian countries po, like Norway. Their where citizens get free education up to university and universal healthcare. Samantala sa ilang bahagi po ng sub-Saharan Africa, kakaunti pa rin ang mga ospital at paaralan at maraming bata po ang hindi nakakapag-aral dahil sa kailangan nilang tumulong sa pamilya para mabuhay. So uh, I believe a lot of this goes back po to the history. Mga bagay na tulad ng kolonyalismo na nagtakda ng mga sistema na hanggang ngayon po ay nakakaapekto pa rin po sa kung paano umuunlad at nagkikikumpetensya po ang mga bansa sa global market. So within countries, widening income gaps even in developed nations like US and UK. So even within rich countries po, gaps are growing. So what really surprised me, this isn't just poor country problem. So take the US or UK for example. In the United States po, a cashier working at a grocery store might earn around $15 an hour and struggle to pay rent in the big city po like New York. So while CEO of the major company could make over 200 million a year. So ibig sabihin ang kita ng isang CEO or pinuno ng company ay katumbas ng kita ng libu-libong manggagawa. So I think part of this is because wages haven't kept up with costs. But those who own asset po like stock or property, mga ari-arian nga po na tulad ng mga stock o lupa na kayang dumadami. Dumadami po ang halaga ng hindi gumagawa ng karagdagang gawain. So keep seeing their wealth growing exponentially. Even here po in Philippines, we see this too. Some families po here in Makati live in luxury rises within all the comfort, while just a few kilometers away in nearby communities, family families share a small home without stable electricity or water. So ito po yung patunay na hindi pagkapantay-pantay ay nagkakaroon din po sa ating sariling bansa. Next one naman po is the 1% factors. A tiny percentage of the population control the vast majority of global asset. It's hard to wrap your head around when I hear that 1% of people control most of the world asset. It's almost overwhelming. We're talking about the handful of individual we have we have more wealth than billions of people combined. So halimbawa po yung pinakamayamang 10 tao sa mundo ay may kabuang kayamanan katumbas po ng kita ng kalahating population ng buong mundo. So to me, it's not just about money po. Ito yung nangangahulugan na isang maliit na grupo lamang ang may labis na impluensya sa mga bagay na tulad ng mga patakaran, mga pagkukunan at kahit kung ano ang mga binibigyan po sila ng prioridad na sa mundong ito like po yung mga nagva-viral nga po na yung mga mahihirap po na tinatakbo na po nila yung mga families nila dahil critical na po yung nararamdaman, they don't care because some hospital here or some school here in the Philippines po, they only care about money. They don't care about your health po. Basta kung nakita ka nilang mahirap, so sa huli ka. Pero pag nakita ka nilang mayaman, mauna ka. Ganun po, napapansin ko rin po halos lahat din po kahit saan ka po pumunta eh. Basta pag nakita ka nilang mahirap, so mahuhuli ka. So honestly, it's a complex issue po. Isang suliranin na puno ng magkakaibang aspeto at hindi madaling masolusyonan. But I think understanding it is the first step to figuring out how we can make things more fair for everyone. That's all lang po. And next.
Causes and consequences of inequality. Why is this happening? Historical roots, impact of colonial and colonialism. So dito po sa historical roots, during that time, yung mga makapangyarihan na bansa or yung mas angat na bansa, sinasakop nila at kinokontrol nila yung mga mas mahinang bansa o yung mga mas mabababa. Kinukuha nila yung mga likas na yaman, mga lupa at yung mga gawa. Ah, Dahil dito, konti na lang yung mga napupunta sa mga lokal na mamamayan. At kahit na makamit kahit na makamit na nila ang kalayaan, marami pa ring bansa ang naiiwan at nahihirapan sa pag-unlad ng kanilang bansa. At dito po sa trade barriers, rules that often favor wealthy established nations. Ah, Sabi po dito na yung may mga patakaran po na sa pandaigdigan or yung mga pang pangbuong mundo po na patakaran tungkol na sa kalakalan is mas pabor po sa mga mayayaman or sa mga mas maunlad na bansa. So, siyempre dahil dito mas nahirapan yung mga mahihirap na bansa na maibenta ang kanilang mga products. At siyempre makipagkompetensya sa mga matataas na mga bansa. Sa ganitong sitwasyon, patuloy na yumayaman yung mga mayayaman na bansa habang patuloy namang nahihirapan ang mga bansa na unlad. Sa access gap naman po, unequal access to education and modern technology. Dito, hindi lahat ng mga tao is may pantay na access or pag-unlad sa edukasyon at makabagong teknolohiya. May mga hindi nakapag-aral ng maayos sa paaralan or di sila nagkakaroon ng mga computer at internet. Dahil dito, mas nahihirapan silang makuha ng mga magagandang trabaho at mapabuti ang kanilang mga pamumuhay. Kaya lalo pang lumalala at hindi pagkapantay-pantay ng mga bawat isa or bawat bansa. At dito naman po sa the real world fallout, persistent poverty and limited social mobility. Dito, kapag hindi patas ang oportunidad, nanatiling mahirap ang mga maraming tao habang sa paglipas ng panahon. Kahit na magsikap man sila, so nahihirapan pa rin sila na umangat sa buhay dahil kakaunti lang yung mga chances or mga pagkakataon na binibigay sa kanila. Negative health and education. So dito madalas kulang ang mga mahirap na magkaroon ng maayos na serbisyo or maayos na trabaho, kakulangan sa kalusugan at edukasyon. Dahil dito mas maraming nagkakasakit at mas bumababa ang ang antas ng kanilang pagkatuto at mas kaunti na rin ang oportunidad na naghihintay sa hinaharap. Dahil do'n, ay sa madaling salita is mas palabo ng palabo yung ah, mga chances nila. Yung last naman po is social unrest and political instability. Dito kapag nararamdaman na ng mga tao na hindi sila tinatrato ng patas, is lumalaki na ang galit at pagkadismaya. Maaari itong humantong sa mga protesta or mga alitan at hindi matatag na pamahalaan na nakakaapekto sa kapayapaan at kaunlaran ng bansa. Yun lang po. Next.
Okay po. So now that we wrap up in this part, I will now discuss how the term third world evolved into what we know call the global south. So when we say third world, mas kilala siya into a Cold War era. So it originally meant countries not aligned with NATO or the Soviet bloc and now considered outdated or what we call offensive. During the Cold War kasi, or tinatawag nating third world, naka-referred po siya to countries that were not aligned, yung hindi naka-align po with NATO or the Soviet bloc. So these were countries outside the main political alliances. And over time, yung term na third world is outdated and sometimes sa iba offensive because it's suggested that these countries were inferior or yung mga less developed country raw po. And now, scholars prefer the term Global South kasi naging modern term na siya. So in Global South, it focuses on economic and political positions rather inferiority. So in Global South, this term kasi nakafocus siya sa economic and political realities, not on labeling countries na tinatawag na lesser. So sa madaling sabi, hindi siya sinasabi na mas mababa yung mga bansang ito, and it highlights their shared historical and economic experiences. And now, these are the some common experiences of the Global South include yung mga shared experiences. First is histories of colonialism. Speaking of histories of colonialism, for example, here in the Philippines, we know naman that we are colonized by the countries Spain. If I'm not mistaken, it's over 300 years. Then, yung sumunod is yung bansang US. So, because of this, yung mga sistema, yung naging sistema natin like government, education, and the culture were influenced by colonizers. So, in other word, nakakaapekto rin yung mahabang panahon na pananakop sa pag-develop or to develop ng mga different na country. Next one is the economic dependence on the globe. Ang best example dito is yung bansang Bangladesh. So sa bansang Bangladesh po kasi, kilala sila for garment industry exports, yung mga clothes. Then in-export nila to the US, Europe. So itong dalawang bansang to, ibig sabihin, yung bansang Bangladesh is umaasa dun sa when it comes in economy sa pagbili ng ibang bansa sa kanilang produkto. So dahil doon parang mas umaangat yung kanilang ekonomiya by exporting their garments industry into these two countries like US and Europe. Next, third one is the high vulnerability to market shifts. So during COVID-19 pandemic, if you remember, maraming developing countries including na dito sa Pilipinas ang naka-experience also ng job losses and also the business closures, especially in tourism and service industries. So in short, the shift from third world to global south is reflect a more respectful and accurate way. So parang pag sinabing third world kasi, parang ibig sabihin sa iba is nakaka-offensive and ang dating sa kanila is their countries inferior daw or yun yung mga less developed. So napalitan siya ng it's transformed into global south kasi more respectful and it sounds accurate. So to understand global inequality and development. So yun yung naging reason. Next slide po. Okay, now let's talk about naman to global city. So the global city it's often called as a hub of a power in the global economy. So in definition, major urban centers that act as the command center of the global economy. So when we say global city kasi, ito yung major center that drives global economic activities that influencing yung finance, trade, and business decisions worldwide. For ito yung mga countries, London, Tokyo, Hong Kong, Singapore. So these cities are known for what you call this, hosting major financial institutions and multinational companies and international organizations. Kasi nga kung mapapansin natin parang ito yung sentro ng global decision making nung mga lungsod na 'to. So, parang nandun yung mga pinakamaraming financial institutions, like yung mga companies, ganyan. So, marami doon yung mga international organizations sa bansang yun. So, here are the key characteristics of global cities. First, we talking about headquarters of multinational corporations. Dito po, many international companies is operate from these cities. So dito naka-base yung operations nila into whole world. No? So next one is yung global financial and yung banking hubs. So dito naman yung mga major banks, yung mga stock exchanges and their financial institutions is nandoon. Kaya siya natawag na global financial and banking hubs. Parang nandun lahat naka-impact ng kanilang mga, for example, yung mga stock exchanges nila. And the third one is advanced infrastructure and cultural diversity. So it is a modern transportation like yung technology and people from different cultures working and living together. So in short po, global cities are powerful centers that influence not just their country's economy but the world economy as well. So that's all my part po. Thank you. Next reporter na po.
Ayan, dito naman tayo sa inequality within the global city. And we call it a dual city phenomenon. Ayan, sa dual city phenomenon po refers to the situation in global cities where two very different social groups live in the same city. Like the groups of rich peoples and poor people. Kaya siya natawag na dual city phenomenon. In dual city, we have first is the elite. Elite means the group of people who have the most advantages in big global cities. These are the highly educated and highly paid professionals working in industries like finance, technology, and law who benefit the most from the opportunities in global cities. They also benefit better business opportunities, access to powerful networks and connections, and also quality education, services, and modern facilities. For example po dito sa the elite is in cities like New York, London, or Singapore. These professionals often earn more money and enjoy more opportunities than ordinary workers. In simple words po, elite or elite are the people who are privileged, who gain the most from living. Yung, kumbaga parang nakukuha nila lahat ng kailangan nila. Ayan. Next naman po is the essential. Ayan. Essential refers to workers who earn low wages but do very important jobs that people in the city need every day. These are the low wages workers, kagaya ng mga cleaners, drivers, store workers, and food service employees na nagpo-provide ng mga important daily services natin. The essentials are the workers who do necessary everyday jobs, even though they are often paid less. Ayan. Kaya nasabi dito na low-wage service workers who keep the city running. Ayan. Next naman natin is gentrification. Skyrocketing housing cost, displacing local residents. Gentrification is when a neighborhood becomes more expensive because richer people move in. This happens when wealthier people move into a neighborhood, causing housing prices and rent to rise so much that long-time residents can no longer afford to live sa place na yun. Ayan. But, yung nagiging problema dito is yung long-time residents na hindi na nila na-afford yung mga housing kasi nga dahil marami ng mayaman doon na nagre-rent ng mas malaking pera. Ayun, napo-force sila na magbayad ng katulad ng binabayaran ng mga mayayamang tao. And kapag hindi na nila kayang bayaran yung housing cost na yon, they are forced to move out of the neighborhood where they have lived for many years. Kumbaga, dun na tayo nagkakaroon ng mga squatter areas, ganyan. Next naman is informal labor. Reliance on migrant workers and unregulated jobs. It means yung work that is done without official job arrangement. Nagre-refer dito yung mga vulnerable workers without formal contracts, job security, or legal protection. Kagaya ng sa mga public markets. Di ba mandatory sa atin na dapat lahat ng workers is may mga SSS. Pero sa mga public markets, lalo na sa mga sa mga probinsya, they don't have legal protection. Ayan. So this kind of work is often done by migrant workers or other vulnerable people because they may have fewer job options. Kaya yung iba po, nagiging street vendors na sila. Ayan. Kasi nga mas malaki na rin yung kinikita nila. Kasi yung nakikitrabaho ka sa mismong nagtatrabaho ka sa mismong may amo ka pero hindi ka naman nabibigyan ng legal protection. Hindi sila nakakapag-provide ng mga legal protections para sa mga workers nila. Ayan, dito naman po tayo sa key insights. Global cities are the microcosm of globalization, displaying extreme wealth and extreme poverty in the same square mile. Global cities are a small example of globalization because they show both extreme wealth and extreme poverty existing very close to each other. And the extreme wealth, they are the rich people with luxury buildings, with big businesses, and modern services. In extreme poverty naman po, they are the poor communities, like the squatter areas, low-paid workers, and people struggling to afford housing and basic needs. Yung iba, sila yung mga beggars sa city. Ayan. So these two opposite conditions exist very near each other in the same city. Ayan. Kaya siya tinawag din in dual city kasi nga, yun nga, may mga mayayaman, sobrang mayayaman at may mga sobrang mahihirap tayo. Next naman po is, ayan. And lastly is the conclusion. Ayan. Globalization, the summary is the globalization provides a path for growth but lacks a mechanism for fairness. And globalization helps countries grow by increasing trade, jobs, and technology. But even if the economy grows, the benefits are not always shared equally. The benefits are not the same with the wealth and the poor people. So globalization can create progress, but it does not automatically make life fair for everyone. Ayan. Next naman is the challenges. Inequality remains one of the 21st century's most urgent issues. Meaning, yung inequality, it is still a major problem today. There is a big gap between the rich and the poor in many countries, hindi lang po sa atin. Some people have access to good education, healthcare, and jobs, while others do not. Kagaya din sa nangyayari dito sa atin sa Pilipinas. Di po ba is yung you have an emergency sa mga hospital, but then when you don't have such money or nakikita nila na nakapambahay ka lang or yung pambahay mo is parang wala kang pera, hindi ka nila i-admit sa hospital. Ganun din yon. Kasi nga yung sinasabi nilang there's a big gap. Tingin pa lang nila is binibigyan na nila ng gap from rich to poor people. Kaya hindi lang po sa ibang country, kundi sa atin din. And many people are left behind even when societies are developing. Totoo naman, marami talagang tao na parang sadyang naiiwan kahit na nagde-develop naman na tayo. Like, cellphones din, di ba? Marami na sa atin may mga bagong cellphones, but then there are many people, especially the poor people na they are left behind. Especially yung mga nasa bundok ganun. They are left behind kasi nga mahirap ang buhay, lalo na hindi sila napapansin ng community. And kapag galing ka kasi sa bundok or sa parang mahirap na kabundukan ganun, parang less privilege ka talaga sa mga trabaho kahit sa maliit na trabaho lang. Ayan, kaya napakalaking issue pa rin sa atin yung inequality. Next, social protection and equitable distribution. Ayan, the goal for the future is to make globalization more fair and inclusive. Yung social protection, it refers to support from the government or society such as healthcare, education, unemployment aid, and programs for poor families. Equitable distribution, ito yung sharing opportunities, wealth, and resources more fairly among people. So, in short, the future of globalization should not only focus on economic growth, but also on improving the lives of all people, especially the disadvantages. All people, sinabi, not only the wealth people, but specially made and plan for poor people also. Ayan, in short po, the globalization can help economies grow, but without fairness, many people are left behind. That is why the future should focus on equality, protection, and shared progress. Ayan po yung report namin, and salamat po sa pakikinig. God bless po.